There is not a lot to the video that I'm gonna show you. We're gonna talk a little bit about makeup. I have like a Quince Fail, an item that I've been waiting for forever that just looked so frumpy on me. I didn't care for it when it arrived, and I was so looking forward to this beautiful structured Italian wool camel jacket that I just knew was gonna look amazing on me, and it looked bad. I didn't like it. So I have some footage of that, some more eyeshadow and makeup talk. And then I also want to share with you just a couple of learnings or maybe like reminders that 2025 has brought to me so far. Just got out of the shower and wanted to share I shouldn't say just, excuse me. It's probably been like an hour. I went downstairs and had some breakfast and I wanted to let my hair dry just a little bit. I don't like to blow dry it right like when I'm out of the shower and it's soaking wet just because it takes 10 times longer and it just feels so unnecessary. At the same time, I realize that I am allowing frizz to develop as I let it dry. So I am going to use this Color Wow Raise the Root on my roots to give it a tiny bit of volume so it doesn't get super flat. Excuse me, pardon me. The first thing I'm going to do is use this Color Fanatic 21 Essential Benefits thing. It's like a leave-in conditioner from Pureology, very light. And then I'm going to use that Raise the Root thing. And then I'm also going to use this Davines liquid spell to give my hair a little bit more volume and blow dry it out. See you in a little bit. I promise I'm dressed. I have like this wrap on me, even though it looks like I'm naked. And so once I put the products on, it does dampen up my hair quite a bit, even though the hair has kind of dried out. Y'all think I'm playing with you when I tell you that this stuff right here, liquid oh, liquid spell has a smell that smells swell. It smells so good. Ooh, it's like marshmallows and shampoo and maybe something a little metallic, and it just kind of works. It's like the Moroccan oil smell plus marshmallows and something else that's kind of like sweet and very girly, and I just love it. Like I want that in perfume form. All right, let me blow dry this thing out and then we'll do some makeup and talk about eyeshadows and products and gratitude and reflections and life and everything else. Before I forget, let me also share to wash your brushes. So I have these Ergo brushes that are amazing. Here's the brand. Of course, I will link everything below for you. These are some of my favorite brushes because they really do allow the hot air to flow through as you're blow drying out. And so it speeds things up. But I wanted to share that to wash them, you know how you get crud and stuff on them from your hair products from blow drying out? At least mine do. Like if I put a lot of product in my hair, inevitably, of course, I get like a lot of residue on the bristles. And so you can put this in a bucket or a sink or a big bowl with like some Dawn dish detergent and hot water and just let them soak. Y'all, the crud that comes off of your brushes is shocking. So I did that recently and it worked. I have a flat paddle Ergo brush as well. And I have a pink version of the same brush because we're extra in this lifetime. We are extra. I do want to get one other, maybe like a bigger barrel of this when I don't necessarily want curl and I want my hair to be mostly like straight. But y'all, these are some of the best brushes and that little technique is great. The other thing I wanted to share is, you know how, if you have long hair and you blow dry your hair often, you get a lot of hair on here and it really sort of messes then with the quality of your blowout. To fix that, take another brush, use that brush. I'm holding the camera with one hand, so I have to do this one-handed here and just do one of these numbers. Like rub them together and you'll see all of the hair start to pile up into one little knot on your brush. So easy versus like taking a comb and trying to go down the shaft of this. Just rub it together with another brush and it'll bring all the hairs right out before you then soak it in that Dawn dish detergent. Brilliant! You're welcome. So here is what it looks like freshly blown out, not combed out, so it looks really messy, but you can see that it's got quite a significant amount of volume, like it's lifting from the roots. The challenge becomes after I style it, this all starts to fall out quickly. I mean, I guess in theory, I could put yet another sort of volumizing product and do a little bit of like root teasing, but I don't like root teasing. And so if you don't know what that means that you take, let me see if I can show you. This brush is disgusting, so excuse me. Either a comb that has a really like tight teeth or something like this, where it's tight bristles and you, at the bottom of the roots, you hold your hair up and then you kind of tease the bottom part down, which like ruffles up the bottoms and gives it almost like a little bit of a nest, if you will, for the rest of the strands to sit on top. I feel like that creates problems later for your hair health if you keep doing that. I'm not sure. I might be making that up. But anyway, let's see how this works. Gosh, it feels really silky because of the products. Smells amazing. I love it. I love it so much. All right, let's go do some makeup and things. Okay, so I have put my hair up in these two little buns for now, and this on my head, which probably squashes down a lot of the volume. That might be part of my problem. Anyway, I wanted it out of my face so I could start my makeup. By the way, these little like squared off, it's not a harsh square. It's kind of like a rounded, squarish kind of thing. These little tees are so cozy and comfortable, and they are on Amazon. I'll put them in the Amazon storefront for you. I got this and maybe like a cream colored one for like $13, and I've been wearing the heck out of this and some other shirts that I will show you in a minute. Don't let me forget to show you the shirts I have purchased. So what I've got going on my face right here is I did the Tom Ford primer, the Traceless Soft Matte Primer. And I love this thing. I've talked about this before. I'm gonna tell you what, mega expensive, mega worth it. It does such a nice job of blurring out some of the texture that I have, particularly on my cheeks. I mean, you can still see some of the texture, friends. I'm always gonna have some texture, but mainly blurred out. Well, as blurred out as I think I'm ever gonna get. But I love this stuff and it's long lasting. I have also, I didn't put this on today, but been trying to use up my Milk Hydro Grip Primer. You see, I am mostly done. This is one of those things where you pump it, it pushes up, pushes up. So I probably got maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 10 more uses in here. I might do just about 5 and then throw this away. I'm done with this just about. Love this, very sticky primer if that's what you need. This one is a more general blurring primer. So they have kind of different effects on your face. I lay down a little bit of this Dior Forever Glow Star Filter, it's called. So this is, it's not a foundation, but it's kind of like that Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter where it gives you a little bit of shine and dewiness under your foundation. So I actually have this on and you see how it helps to make it look like my skin is glowing from within and dewy. I have foundation on as well and powder, but you can still see some shine coming through. This is in the color 3. So I just do a little bit like on my cheeks and kind of through my T-zone, which is probably a bad thing because it's oily, but I do it. And then for foundation, I'm truly loving these new Gucci foundations. I think they're new. 24-hour wear breathable foundation, luminous matte finish. And you may recall that I kind of goofed in the Sephora sale and ended up purchasing one that was way too light for me. This one is almost like, it's almost like the color of this top, which not that bad, but when you put it on, well, maybe like that color, and you can see these are very different colors, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for something a little bit more warm on my face. This is the color 260 warm, but I also purchased a darker color 320 warm, which is too warm for me. So I mixed them together to give the effect that you see here. I used Laura Mercier Ultra Blur Translucent Setting Powder. This is the small version, the Ultra Blur. So this is the newest one. It's supposed to be colorless. I mean, it comes out kind of like an almond color, and I use that as like an all-over face setting for the foundation. You don't have to set your foundation. I like to. I'm a very oily gal, and I actually do like heavy routine, like skincare serums and moisturizers and all of that before I even get some of my makeup. So it helps to put some of those oil absorbing, oil blocking kinds of, oil hiding kinds of products on. And then y'all, this Hourglass Concealer has been hitting the spot recently. This one is in the color Sienna. Ooh wee, y'all, my eyes, I can't see. I'm like, what color are you? It's Sienna something. I can't see the number on it, but I'll put it on the screen. Phenomenal. Really thin texture. It's luminous a little bit. Do you see how it looks like my natural skin, at least in my opinion. And I also use that as like an eyeshadow primer just because I was lazy and didn't want to use a separate eyeshadow primer. Before I finish my makeup up, I'm not going to do that on screen, but I wanted to show you my prep products and then I'll show you the final products in a minute. I wanted to go back to, remember I told you about my single eyeshadow mania that I've been going through? Well, several more arrived in the mail and there are at least a couple more on the way. One I'm not entirely sure of. This is from Charlotte Tilbury, and this one is in the color Oyster Pearl. In fairness to this, I wore it by itself on the day that I wore it. I didn't prep my eyes, and I had no other makeup on except mascara, and it looked okay when I first put it on, and then I hated it by the end of the day. So let me swatch some of these for you again. Oyster Pearl, look how pretty that is in the little pot here. That is so pretty. I think part of what was happening is my skin was very pale on the day that I wore this, and the two just didn't seem to like jive with each other so well. Like the tone of my paleness against this sort of neutrally taupey, champagne-y kind of color. It just wasn't like the best combo. I'm happy and willing to try this again. I think the color overall is very pretty. I'm gonna tell you what my favorite is becoming though. And I resisted these for years. I shared this in the last video. these Hourglass scattered light ones. So I showed you a different color last time called Smoke, which is a little bit like this, maybe a little bit more brown and taupey, darker browny taupey than this Charlotte Tilbury Oyster Pearl. But this one is the color Ray, and I have the color Champagne on the way. So they're not playing around when they talk about this being a scattered light glitter. Boom. I mean, the shine on that is second to none. Well, maybe there's something shinier. That's such a dramatic statement. It's second to none, but it's not playing around. Now let me put this over the Oyster Pearl and see what that does. If that is not a beautiful combination right there for a glittery night out. Let me hit it with a little bit more. Boom. Nice. Okay, I do have like 6 more to show you, and then I wanted to show you some lipsticks that I've been super into lately. So I ended up ordering Moira. Last time we talked about Kiko, Milano, the scattered lights, and maybe a few others, and I mentioned I had some Moiras on the way, so I have 4 from this line. I think these are different lines, and 2 from this. I wish I could tell you what the lines are. I can tell you what the lines are. One is called Lucent Cream Shadow in this packaging, and then the other are called Chroma Light Shadows. So let's go through these Lucent ones very quickly. This is the color Jupiter. I'll just swatch these for you for fun. It's kind of like duochrome-y, pink to greeny on here. So this is a very sort of dry formula. The Charlotte Tilbury is super wet by nature. Like it's a very putty formula. The scattered light is a little bit drier. These Moira shadows are super, super dry, but very glittery. You see how it has kind of like a little bit of a green reflect there? I don't know about this one. This one is called Dawn, and it's a little bit more green gold than I was hoping for. So these are in the storefront too. So it's a beautiful color. I'm just not sure if this one is going to be my personal favorite for my skin tone and the effect that I'm going for. But I mean, y'all, if you want some gold, it reminds me of the Natasha Denona gold palette, all of the golds in that one. Really kind of cool. You see how the one next to it, which one is that again? The Jupiter color is a lot more cool toned. This one, I mean, it's not warm, but it has some warm aspects to it. And then again, this Lucent Cream Shadow in the color Orion. I don't know where I got Orion from. It's clearly Orion. Please forgive me. I feel like this one, let me do it up here because it's hard to kind of see around this curve here. This one is a little bit more putty in texture. That seems like it would be a fun all over shadow that could be good for the office because it's not like super shiny and reflecty and glittery like these are, but it's still beautiful and kind of a neutrally, almost silvery, champagne-y color with some gold in it. I like that. But this is what I mean about it being a little bit more putty. You see how there's an indentation? That's not because I've used a lot. It's because when I press it, it goes down and moves around. See? See what I mean? Yeah. There's the color. The last of this Lucent cream shadow formula is in the color Mars. And this one I think I like. I will love this very, very much as we go into fall. Look at how beautiful, bronzy, almost like a penny color that is. Isn't that pretty? All of these could be an all over shade. You can use any of these like that in like the corner into the crease if you wanted something a little bit dark. Oops, put some on. I guess this one wants to be worn today since it went onto my, y'all look how almost orangey yellow my face is with these 2 colors. I don't know if it's the light or what's going on. Then in this chrome light shadow formula, this one is called Sunstone. Also a very pretty color. These are a slight bit more like chunkier and heavier than the ones I just showed you from Moira. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, that's kind of similar to the color Mars up here, but it's got more light reflect than Mars, which is a little bit more subdued. This one has a little bit more goldy reflect. Very pretty. And then the last shadow that I wanted to show y'all from that same line from Moira is Moira how you say it, or is it Moira? Moira. Sugar Crush. This one's been catching my eye for forever. I've had it linked in my Amazon storefront for forever and just never purchased it myself. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's a little bit more subdued, like silvery champagne-y, goldy color versus this one that has more green. This one was the, if you remember, Dawn, that color here, right here. It's like goldy green. This is the kind of gold silver combo that I really, really love because I think it's like universally appealing. Yeah. So then I have been loving very nudie lipsticks lately, and I'll show you just a few. I ended up purchasing some from the Huda line, their Power Bullet Cream Glow. So I have a lot of these in their matte, like 80s and 90s power line. I don't think it's called the Power Line, but whatever it's called. This one is called the Moneymaker. So that's like a little bit of a mauvey, rosy, sort of browny color. I also purchased in the color Buttercup. Here's what the bullet looks like. That's beautiful. I mean, that's like a Your Lips, but lighter. I wouldn't even say better because my lips are actually darker than that. I don't have anything on my lips except some clear gloss, but yeah, this is a little bit lighter for when you want that super like concealer nude look. I mean, I would use this with like a thick, darker liner, like a brown liner, so that I didn't wash my lips out. And then I'm messing around too with the Lawless lipsticks. This is in the color Cookie. Here's the bullet, and here is that color. It's like a cream formula, and it's got some sheen to it, which I think is really nice. So does the Huda. Like that Huda is pretty shiny if you see there. I forgot to show y'all in the eyeshadow department, before I go away from this stuff altogether, a new little Kiko Milano palette. I didn't know they had these. I always thought they were just like single shadows, and I was poking around on Amazon and found this beauty. This is in 01. It's called the Glamour Multi-Finish Eyeshadow Palette, and this is the earth tones, if I remember correctly. Look how pretty this is. So, and it comes with a little mirror. If you want to talk about the ultimate travel palette, I mean, it fits like this, very similar to the other little shadow palettes that I've been obsessed with lately. Imagine having this all in one for your look. Now, the one thing I will say, I don't feel like these lasted forever. They lasted the whole workday, and that's kind of all I need for travel. Well, that's not true, because sometimes when I travel, like we colleagues and whatever, we go out to dinner and we might like stay at the bar and have some drinks or whatever. And so then you do want it to go all night. But in the absence of that, if you just want, I mean, let me put it like this. I did see it at the end of the night. It had faded a little bit. Okay. Had it faded dramatically where I don't trust them? No, I'm not saying that. Let's not get all dramatic about it. I just mean in comparison to some other formulas that last forever and ever, these kind of faded a little bit. Probably I put them on at like 7 in the morning and they faded maybe about like 7 or 8 at night. They started to be where it was like a wash of the color. So anyway, how beautiful is this? Now this color here, it's this marbled effect, but it comes across just like that. Isn't that pretty? Very sort of subtle, elegant sheen to it. So this is perfect for travel. You can do a sort of neutral color scheme with the browns and the golds, or you can do something cool tone with the others. It says earth tones. I don't really find them to be very earth tone-ish. Now they have other colors as well that I'll link in the Amazon store, and I might buy one more in the warmer shades. There's one that has more like, let's see, like these kinds of coppery types of shades in them, you know, so that you can have your cools and your warms, because I like to balance things out. In fact, all of the other smaller eyeshadow palettes that I've purchased, I usually will look for a cool toned one and then a warm toned one, so that I have that variety with me when I travel. But if this isn't the most convenient all-in-one, and this was like $19. Love this. Okay, so here is the finished look. I have curled my hair and I'm trying to let them like cool down and set before I rake them out. But let me tell you what I did with the makeup for the overall bronzer, which I do sort of around the perimeter of my face, down and through here, down the sides of the nose, and all down my neck to give the illusion of depth and like a more chiseled jaw. I used the Gucci bronzer, one of my favorites. This is in the color 3, which is just, I mean, this is perfect. It makes a great crease shade as well. I mean, you can double up your bronzers for crease shade. You can mix it with a little bit of Vaseline and give your lips some color. Bronzer is one of those products that I can't live without. Like it can do a lot for me. And then in my eyes, you may remember many videos ago that, maybe not many, like 10 videos, I don't know, where I talked about depotting and repotting my Natasha Denona shadows. And I think I did it also with the bronze palette, but a lot of the bronze colors are still in here. So what did I do? I used this color here, whatever that is. I think that's from another palette, up through the crease, and in the inner corner, I put something else in the inner corner that I'll share with you. And then I took these two brownish colors and deepened up the crease and kind of blew out the lighter color of the two all the way up the eyeshadow socket underneath here. Underneath it all, there's an endless story. I used this one to give a little bit of definition under the eye. Now, do you remember from the last video me talking about, drum roll please, boom, these Kofi eyeshadows. This is in the color Sona Sona. Brown chicken brown. So anyway, that is all the way on the inside of my inner corner through most of the eyelid. Oh my gosh, boy, do I love that glittery look. And you know, I'm trying to get away from gold as a color on my eyes, as you heard about earlier in the video, but somehow I'm just drawn back to the golds and the bronzy colors as like my go-to. I know that I look good in pink as well, but this is like a default color scheme for me, especially when I have a more tanned base on. For the blush, it's the Laura Mercier blush in the color Bellini. Is that not so pretty? And it's subtle. You may not even be able to see it. Let's apply a little more, because can you have too much blush? You can, but today we're gonna load it on. What I like about this blush is that it's as subtle as you want it to be. To me, it doesn't ever get really, really dark and deep. Now, mind you, this is a fairly pale color. It's almost like an apricot-y peachy color with a tad hint of ashiness in it. It just kind of works. I guess Bellini, like peach Bellini. And I think it is glorious, like a matte. Oh, I love that. I love it, I love it, I love it. A matte blush. But these Laura Mercier blushes, they don't seem like a lot. They cost like, I think $40-something, but they just do the job. They just don't fail me. On the lips, I used the Traced Out Fenty Pencil Lip Liner. This is in the color Satin Panty. What the hell kind of name is that, y'all? But Satin Panty is what I got on. And then for the lip, this is one of the only matte lip creams. I know that sounds weird, matte and cream, but it's in a cream form. This is Anastasia. That has worked for me. I bought this in 2 colors. This color is called Peach Amber. So before I was so rudely scared by my husband, I have the color Peach Amber on my lips, which I really love. And I just want to show you what the color looks like without the liner, which is very close. I mean, that is a beautiful, like a clay terracotta, deep terracotta clay brown. Very, very pretty color. And this works. It's a smooth formula. It doesn't feel sticky. You know how with some liquid lips, you have to put it on and then let it dry before you can do that with your lips? You can put your lips together as soon as you put this on, and it is okay. So this is phenomenal. For liner on my eyelids, I used the Natasha Denona, whatever this is called, her cream liner, and this is in the brown color. Love it. I mean, it's just, I did like a really subtle line just to try to cover up the line from the faux lashes. Speaking of faux lashes, this is the Luxe Faux Mink from Eyelure. It's not a full lash, like it stops right there, so you don't have to cut them, and I like that they're shorter and easier to work with. And then on the inner corner of my eye, this is my good old Ofra highlighter. This is the Beverly Hills highlighter, and it's got all these colors in it, which I love. So this is like an all-in-one. Like if you don't want 10,000 products, get this if they still make it, because it has every sort of shade of highlight that you could ever want. But I use this one on the inner corner just to kind of brighten that up. And that is it, friends. That's the look. Oh, I did do my eyebrows with the Precisely My Brow pencil from Benefit in the color 3, which to me is a little ashy for me. I want something a little bit more warm, but it works. We'll make it work. So forgive the lighting. I am in the closet, but I wanted to show you a Quince Fail. Like a total fail. I was waiting for this wool, Italian wool jacket for the longest time. It was back ordered. I think I ordered it back in March and was super excited to get it. It looked really good in the pictures. Maybe I should have looked at the pictures a little bit closer to understand the tailoring. So first of all, this I don't understand what's happening with the stitching here on the collar. I don't like it. And it's meant to be worn popped up or down, I think. But more generally speaking, the tailoring on this is just, it's not right. Let me show you. So this is a size medium. I like the color. I love camel colored wool, but it feels like it's already kind of frayed up. It's not smooth. Now, of course, it's wrinkled out of the back, so you have to keep that in mind. I don't know. It just feels like it's incomplete. It feels frumpy. It feels frumpy. So I've got to return this. I did like the 2-pocket detail, but it feels like the stitching and the cut of this is just, it feels like amateur overall. So sadly, although I've been waiting for this for months, I'm going to have to return this. Hey everyone, it is the end of a very chill work day. It wasn't too bad today. in terms of like pressure and stress and anxiety or anything like that, but we have a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm here in my office, so I'm a little like old-fashioned about thunderstorms. Were you ever told to like turn off all the electricity and everything when you were a kid and there was a thunderstorm happening? I don't even know if there's anything like to that, especially with modern technology, but here we are in the dark in my office. Well, I have like one lamp on, and I thought I'd put on the fireplace for like the cozy effect. So gosh, I feel like, I have so much to share and don't know how to share it, but let's start with gratitude. First, artwork, the things that adorn our home and our walls that have some meaning to us, that bring us joy to look at. On Saturday, we went to something called Arts in the Park in Richmond. So it's always like the first weekend in May. There weren't that many vendors this year. They're usually like hundreds of vendors, but I shouldn't say there weren't that many. I would say it was about at like 85% capacity compared to the prior years. But we found some nice pieces. And so I will insert some footage of the two things that we purchased this year. One is a set of small sunflowers. I love sunflowers. I love to have them, especially in the fall, and put them on the table. I love to look at them. I enjoy them in painting. So we purchased some sunflowers from a local artist. Her name is Mary Singh. I will link her down below. Go check out her artwork. Fantastic. We have probably 5 pieces of hers. And then we also purchased, I think it's peonies in a vase. And that is up in our bedroom. I want to change out the frame on that. The frame is black and I want it to be gold. It feels like a little too dark and gothic, but the painting itself is beautiful. And I want some more of her pieces. She made one of my favorite pieces that's hanging in the foyer, and it's peonies and it's beautiful. So I'll show you that too. So I love the art in our home. I chose, every piece, or my husband has chosen every piece that we have on our walls, on our shelves or whatever. Everything means something to us, and or we like it together for a specific reason. I mean, there are some things he loves more than I do and vice versa, but we compromised on how we wanted to like co-decorate our house together. So probably, I don't know, 2 months ago or so, there was an art auction at a local art store. Like they were selling off everything in the store. I don't know why, the history of the story behind why they were selling everything off, but they were. And so we purchased, I think, 4 big art pieces, one of which was sunflowers. And we finally hung that up in our bedroom so we could look at it every day. So I want to appreciate art and the place that it has in our lives and the joy that it brings us visually to look at. I also want to express general appreciation for good service, gratitude for good service folks that show up on time, do the job that's expected to be done, and charge you a fair price. I don't need a cheap price on services. I'm not that person that's always looking for the lowest price. I think sometimes when you look for the lowest price, you can tend to get the lowest service as well. So I don't mind paying adequate market value for a service. And so today that was people coming out to like turn on our irrigation system in our house. And what I really appreciate, I feel like you can't see the fire, so I'm gonna move over because the fire's so nice. It's so nice. They came on time, the irrigation folks. They were so polite, so kind. They took care of the service and they left. And there was no fuss, no muss, and definitely no mess. And we have cultivated good relationships with service people that we can rely on. Like we have a great plumber who we know is not going to BS us. In fact, we called him out for a service that he said, you don't need this service and I can't take your money for this. Here's what I suggest you do instead. And so he left with like a lower payout for his time than I was anticipating. And I know I can trust them. Same thing with AC and heating. We have a service that we love. I have a hairstylist that I'm going to on Thursday that I trust to take care of my color, treat my hair well, all of that kind of stuff. So great appreciation for the people that help you live your best life. And I treat my job that way too. Like I provide services to the public and I take it very seriously. I feel like I'm a steward of that funding that they trust us to use well, and we take good care of our customers. So good service is the second thing that I'm grateful for today. And then the third point of gratitude does relate to nature, just like I have done in previous videos. And that is gratitude for the green and growing things in our lives. So I've talked about the owls and the frogs and the birds and all of that. But today it's about the fact that, like clockwork, every spring, the earth heats up here in the northern hemisphere as we tilt toward the sun. And not only do we get the beauty of longer days, but we get to see the cycle of life again, at least as it pertains to greenery, vegetation, all of that. Trees begin to grow their leaves again, flowers grow. Peonies started to bloom in our front yard. Gardenias will come later in the season. We have a number of other kinds of flowers that grow in our flower beds, and it's beautiful and a reminder that no matter how bleak and dark and cold and austere and like devoid of feeling and warmth the winter may get, spring will follow right after. We will always have spring. We will always have the warmth of spring. I'm looking out at my front yard through the windows in case you're wondering what I'm staring at. The beautiful greenery will fill back in and provide us shade. Flowers will bloom. Bees will return. We have hummingbirds that have returned in the backyard to the little feeder that we put out. And I love the whole reminder of the cycle of life. It's like a reminder to slow down and just appreciate nature and trust. Trust what is already in motion, trust the cycle of life, trust the laws of nature, all of that. Of course, there's a very brutal side of nature, you know, where there's a pecking order in terms of animals feeding on each other and all of that. And so maybe we'll save that for another day. But for now, I'm just grateful for the beauty of spring. Spring has sprung here, and I'm so excited for that. So let me change topics, and I want to gossip a little bit about the Dave Matthews Band and then share some reminders for 2025, life lessons that have shown themselves to be true again in 2025. But on the topic of Dave Matthews. So I love Dave Matthews Band. I have seen them live probably about 6 times. They're a really interesting band to see live. First of all, it's a really diverse band, and the history of how they got together, if I'm not mistaken, I might have some facts wrong, but I believe most of them met here in Richmond or started to play together here in Richmond or something to that effect. Dave Matthews has property out in Charlottesville, Virginia, so he lives out there part of the time, and I think he has other properties and all of that. So anyway, we consider him a Virginia boy here. He and the band, the way that they, first of all, the music is just amazing. He's not a great singer, okay? So he's not a great singer, but he is an amazing lyric writer, he and his crew, and they all play the hell out of their instruments. So he's a guitarist, and there's a drummer. There used to be a violinist who got kicked out for some nefarious reasons. You can look it up. It's kind of sad because he was amazing in the band and then turned out to be a weirdo. There is, I think, a saxophonist. There's a bass guitar player and some others. And on occasion, Tim Reynolds, who is another guitarist, will play with them as well. So he's like a friend of the band. Anyway, if you've ever been to a Dave Matthews concert, or if you've listened to any of their concert music on Spotify or on TV or anything like that, they tend to go into these very long riffs, you know, where they are expanding on a portion of a song, and they can go on and on and on for many, many minutes at a time, farther than the song itself. And so I have my satellite radio in my car set to have one station dedicated to the Dave Matthews Band. I have Pearl Jam on there as well, and I have 70s, 80s, and 90s. I have everything, y'all. I love all kinds of music. But the Dave Matthews Band channel, I can play that channel while I'm driving. I can get out to pump my gas, go buy something at the store, make a phone call, come back in the car, and they are still riffing because they're playing like their live music. The channel's playing one of their live songs, and I'm like, okay, it's time to change up the song because it's all like instrumental riffing. It's actually really, really cool stuff, but you get tired of it after a while. That's not my point. My point is they are playing in Richmond this summer. The date that they're playing, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it due to another obligation, but I had looked into taking my son with me for his first concert experience. Y'all, first of all, the tickets sold out in nanoseconds when they went on sale. Like, you couldn't find a ticket at all. So now you have to go to secondhand tickets, you know, or you can go to like Ticketmaster or whatever. I think you can buy them on Ticketmaster, definitely StubHub, and they are sold secondhand. And so I went to look because I missed out on the first opening ticket sales. Let me tell you something. You could not find a ticket for less than $500. That was the lowest. So it would be $1,000 plus tax and all of that for 2 people. For 2 people. Oh my God. As much as I have been waiting for that band to play in Richmond, because they haven't played in Richmond in the entire time that I've been here, but we have like this new amphitheater down on the river. Like, it's going to be so pretty. And if it's a nice night without rain, it's going to be an amazing concert. Anyway, I cannot, I can't go because of the date probably, but I just can't justify $1,000 for 2 tickets. And they're not even like front row. They're not even straight up in the front. These are like the nosebleed seats. If you want the really, really good tickets, you're looking at paying $1,000 and up per person. There were $1,500 tickets that I saw on there. So anyway, okay, Dave, we get it. This is your hometown. You are the hometown heroes here. Anyway, so I've been enjoying the channel when they're not riffing too much. Let's move on. I just wanted to chat about Dave Matthews for a minute. And I want to talk about the lessons that are coming up for me this year, or the reminders that are coming up. So there are 2 lessons that are kind of coming up, actually 3 lessons that are kind of coming up for me right now. One is the lesson that I shared in the video with this thumbnail, where I talked about valuing yourself. Now, this was in the face of layoffs that were happening in my organization, and it's more about me and has really nothing to do with the organization and the decisions they had to make. They did what they had to do from a business standpoint, and I don't begrudge them any of the decisions or anything like that, but it was just like an epiphany, a realization for me about valuing myself first and foremost, and making sure that I am secure enough that things like that will not rock my world. And thank goodness that I was at the time, and even more so now as I've continued to prepare for, the reality of a potential layoff at any given point in time. I'm one of these people that I've been working since I was 13 years old. Way back in the day, there was something called Job Corps. Some of you may remember that, particularly if you are in an inner city environment or even in rural environments. There was something called Job Corps that was designed to create jobs. It was like a social welfare program, if you will, that I believe started in the late 80s and continued into in the late 70s and continued into the 80s. I don't remember the exact history. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, we as youth were hired and worked at 13 years old. Obviously I went to school. So in the summer times, I was paid to be a part of a marching band. That was the job that I had. But people did like street cleaning and other kinds of programs that were designed to help keep youth off the street and things like that. There were other purposes. But so all of that to say, I've been working since I was 13, have done something every summer since then. While I was in school, that was kind of work related or similar to that. And then in college I worked, and all throughout when I graduated, I worked through college. And then when I graduated college, I was immediately employed, and I have been since. So the idea of being laid off was like this foreign thing to me. Like, what? I might actually be without a job? Like, what is that? I don't know how to process or deal with that. I just don't. I mean, not only that, but I'm doing the 2 YouTube channels. And so it's like, that feels in a lot of ways, even though it's for a creative purpose, like a part-time job, because I treat it like that. In the evenings and weekends, I dedicate time to both channels. So, I mean, I've been working like a dog my whole life. So the idea of not working was a foreign concept, and more so the concept of not being valued had just not crossed my mind. And so there was a lesson in that space about creating my own self-value, like more intentionally. Those things sort of in theory, right? Until you have to face it. And then it's like, oh, it's game time. Like, you actually have to value yourself now. No matter what decision is made about this layoff, you have to know that you're worth it and be proud of your contributions and the way that you show up every day. Oh, and by the way, make sure that your financial situation is set up such that if you're laid off, you won't blink an eye. So that was a really, really pivotal moment for me this year. But I won't dwell on that because I talked about it in the other video. I do want to talk about in 2025 how I am going to continue to more actively and intentionally employ a DNE strategy. And that stands for do not explain. Do not explain yourself. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Anyone. There are exceptions, of course. And you know what those are. Like when you're working with your family, or with someone who you have harmed, whose life you have affected, yes, you probably have to explain yourself in those situations. But to everyone else, you know what I'm talking about. The people that are nosy, the people that want to come for you, the people that want to judge you without full information, the people that always have something to say and ask you questions about what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and how could you do it. Those people, it's a DNE policy. Do not explain. I have this little meme that I screenshotted, and it says self-care is choosing to not over-explain. Sometimes no response is the best response. You don't have to over-explain yourself to people who don't care to understand. That has been most apparent to me in YouTube space, like in the comment space, where on rare occasion, you all, I have amazing, wonderful audiences on both channels. But because it's an open forum and anyone can come up upon your video, sometimes a little creep comes into the comments, a little weirdo comes into the comments, and or somebody who's just a little too much. They're a little like bullheaded, or they don't understand things and they say things or ask questions. They ask questions they have no business asking, right? And it's kind of like a weird situation because, you know, you want to have a channel where you're open, you know, with people and share of yourself, but then there are limits to that. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand where those boundaries are, particularly if they aren't like the most emotionally mature people. You know, people can say some very weird things. So that's an example of like somebody asking a question in a comment that is inappropriate, and they ask it in sort of a very bold way, like they have a right to know things. You don't have to explain yourself. I don't have to explain myself to anyone, you know? It's hard to share an example without getting into details about like who and what, but it applies to all areas of your life. You don't have to explain yourself. I can't tell you the number of times that people have approached me in public spaces and just felt entitled to ask weird questions. I remember being in a hair salon, for example. I had taken my son to my hair salon and he was getting his hair cut. And there was an older woman who started, first of all, she was staring at him while she was getting her hair done. I don't know what her fascination was with my son. I don't know. It was a weird thing. But she kept staring at him and I'm watching her face and she was looking like a little like she was being judgy about his haircut or whatever. And she started to ask me questions. And she took it a little too far. She was asking a lot of questions that like not even family members ask about like his schooling and, you know, was he into girls and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, ma'am, we're good. Like, I'm done with these questions. I'm not explaining my son's life to you. I don't know you and I don't owe you any answers to your questions. So anyway, that applies to all areas of life. Those are obvious cases where you're dealing with strangers. The same can apply, you know, with your family and your friends when they step over boundaries about things that they have no business knowing about. People can be so insensitive and judgmental and ask questions they don't have any business knowing, and that they know the answer is never going to satisfy them. You know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what response you give. It's not going to be good enough because they've already made a judgment about you and about what you're probably doing and why you're probably doing it. And they're totally wrong, but they're convinced. So I've made up my mind, be it in the comment section, at work. I don't really get this at work, so I don't even know why I brought that up, but people at work are super cool. You know, my friendship groups, out in public with my family. I don't owe anyone an explanation about what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. If it doesn't involve them, it doesn't affect their life, I don't need to explain nothing. So the theme here is DNE, do not explain. And that the third thing is simplifying or continuing to simplify my life. Continuing to simplify my life. I have for a long time been simplifying my life. In fact, I have these 2 books that have stayed with me through many, many, many years. I can't even tell you when I got these. Who's seen this? Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff by Richard Carlson. Simple ways to keep the little things from overtaking your life. Great little book full of wisdom. And this one is so awesome by Elaine St. James. It's called Simplify Your Life. I'll see if I can find these on Amazon and link them in the store. These are gems. I have several others, but I'll just pause with these 2. Whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed or like life is too much, or I'm not sure which way to turn because like my mind, my soul, my heart, my house is cluttered, I go to one of these 2 books and I read through a little bit and remind myself to slow down and simplify things. So here's another way that you can simplify things, another little meme that I screenshotted, and I'm like, this is so brilliant because this is how I feel like I've been living the past few years. Because look, let me preface this by saying I'm that person that over gives of myself. Like I give too much to friends and family or whatever, and then I end up being resentful when I don't get it in return. So that's a lesson that I learned a very long time ago, and probably in the last 10 years or so have sort of stepped that back and really like protected my own peace and my own space and my own time more. So this is called Rules for a Peaceful Life. Maybe you have seen it on social media. And this is really simple for people relationships to keep your life as free from unnecessary drama as possible. Visit who visits you. Call who calls you. Support who supports you. Ignore who ignores you. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Visit who visits you. Call who calls you. Support who supports you. Ignore who ignores you. So I have pretty much applied that to all areas of my life. YouTube, work, family, friends, same thing. Same thing. You know, if you are in my life and you have a presence in my life and you care about me, and I have to feel the same way about you, obviously. If I care about you and we sort of meet each other halfway, I'm great with that. I will continue to do that. But I'm not going to be the only person putting in effort and you are not. That's just not going to happen. I don't have time for that. I don't have energy for that, right? That kind of relationship clutters up your heart and your space and actually takes away from the people that are deserving of your time and your energy and your dedication and your focus. So I love that. Simplify your life through these rules. Do not explain yourself and value yourself. Those are the thoughts that came to mind for today's video. Hope that was helpful. I'm sorry that those eyeshadow swatches were so crappy. Hopefully you got something out of that little segment and you've enjoyed hanging out with me fireside. And look how greasy I am. Lord have mercy. I've got the light right in my face so it's shining. It's not above. Let me tell you about lighting and how important it is. So here is no lighting. Oh my gosh, that probably would have been better. Look how soft and gentle that is. Here is right in front. So it highlights all the places that are oily, right? Like all the ridges of the face are now highlighted. If you underlight your face, you're spooky. And if you light from, let's say, above, like right here, that's probably a better position. Maybe like up here somewhere. Anyway, when you light from above, let me put it down, it's better. But isn't this nice and gentle and soft? So lighting is important, friends. Anyway, I'm gonna go cook dinner. I'll see y'all in the next video. Take care.